So, hey guys, Chauzu here. So today we got the reveal of the 12th Anniversary Super Sugo-Fest batch, and yeah, we knew 4 of the units we were getting. We didn't know that we'd get all of the 4 Emperors at the same time, so that was pretty hype. But we got a surprise 5th Super Sugo. We usually get some Super Sugos and an Anniversary Sugo, but this time they went all out with the Super Sugos, so 5, I think that's the most ever. And the 5th one was Emu, and I'm not a big Emu fanboy. Personally, I think it's an intriguing character. I do follow the mangas, I know recent developments and such, but I do have a soft spot for the silhouette Emu. I do like it, and the sprite does look hilarious, like, yeah, that's going to be fire. So I'm happy we got this Emu, at least. And there's a lot of stuff to talk about with this Emu. He's honestly the most unique of the characters we get. Honestly, the other 4 characters are... I'm not sure if I'm going to say letdown or massive letdown, but yeah, they could have done so much, but they did so little. But I will make a video with all of them, and for the other videos, I'll probably also go in-game and show units and stuff like that. But for this video, I'm just going to be talking and looking, because I'm mainly going to touch on 3 things. We're going to start looking at what Emo does, and I'll give my reactions to that. Well, not reactions, I thought a bit about it during the day. Then we'll talk a bit about Emu together with the 5 Elders team. And then we'll talk about Emu together with the Anni batch, which is both interesting short-term and pretty dull long-term. I'm going to get back to that. We'll also look a bit about the PvP. I've read through it, but I'm not sure I understand all of it. I'm not someone you go to for PvP info anyway. Anyway, I like to start with, well, just to see what he has. It's a strength unit, powerhouse driven, has a final tap, has the type or class damage apply. I can't tell the difference between those two. They're only relevant for super boss anyway, if you do some very high damage team. Also ridiculously high CD, but as we're going to talk about later, despite 22 CD and no inherent ability of him to recharge his CD, you can build so you can use his special twice in a single content, which is pretty insane actually. And he has an EX Super. But yeah, let's read the captain. I like to read captain before special. I hate that these ones always puts the special first. But yeah, captain. As start of the quest, characters with cost of 70 or more gets a 34% CD reduction. And when I read that and I thought about it, like, it sounds great, but like if you run a 5 Elder team, like the other Elder will also have some way to reduce CD for 5 Elders. So this will probably end up being pretty relevant. The main issue is that only cost 70 or higher gets CD reduction, which I think will be a legit issue in the long term using this unit. He also reduces the VS effect and switch effect. This says uses by 3, which makes no sense, but yeah, decrease it by 3. Or you get 3 at the start of the turn, I should say. Like, I don't remember the wording now, and it's obviously not right here. And you can perform Super Tana with strength slots for 10 turns, so that's not the worst. But yeah, the worst effect and switch feels like fluff, because like everything I've thought about with this Emo for now has basically no versus or no switch. Like maybe the versus New Zero with Zoro is the only one. There's no duo unit yet, so it's a bit weird, I think. 6 times attack for characters with cost 70 or more. All others get 4 times attack. So yeah, it sounds like they want you to use him with the 5 elders, but honestly, that 4 times attack is going to do some real heavy lifting, at least during this anniversary celebration. HP 1.5 times, it's fine. Emu resist bind, spear paralysis, special mind, special reverse. And yeah, I've seen some people already be, whoa, that fits Emu so well, that's so good. But it's not the first time we've had this, and most of the time it's pretty meh. But in terms of the way this unit will be used in reality, I think it's one of the better units, because most of the time you want to use this guy before all other units. And this captain ability guarantees you can do that. So in that way, it's pretty solid. And yeah, if he's a captain and hits excellent with his action special, you'll get a higher attack boost for the high cost unit, so relevant for Emo himself hitting harder, and he has a final tab, so that might be relevant. And it also helps if you run a 5 elder team. And then we have a territory crew. We're going to talk about that when we get to the special. But the key thing here to note, which we'll get back to later, is that if you have the territory crew apply, which Emo can apply himself, and you want to use Emo special first, so you will have it applied when others use the special. Their specials now apply to all types and classes, but that's just for specials that give for a certain type or a certain class. But the whole Anni batch is specials that have type or class. One thing to note though is that it doesn't work with like the 5 elder team, where a lot of the stuff is like for 5 elders or for high cost units, stuff like that. It doesn't help with that. Also, we have a special captain ability that Emu is a captain. You can immediately clear certain quests 6 times per day. And we don't know anything about this yet. Like, I have already seen people go crazy for that. And I do think it will be relevant, because I just presume that like the daily islands we have, where we can get a free gem, we have the different manuals we can get. We can't finish them so fast now. Before we used to run like experience captain or something, because like in Counter we often have prioritize like, do we want to prioritize rewards or prioritize speed? But for these we haven't had that option, because when you prioritize for gains, rewards, you also get the speed, because you can't beat it faster. But suddenly we can. And I say that that's an easy trade-off, because the experience and stuff you get is super negligent. Like, only exception is like the daily CC islands we're running. Shopper will most likely be optimal. But honestly, personally, I've not done that for years because I'm too lazy. So I'm just going to Emu. I've not even done the manual islands personally, basically since they started. So with this, I will probably do it, because it was pretty annoying to build auto teams for those islands, since they were pretty different, and they actually had some annoying buffs for being like daily easy islands. But with this, you just enter it and win, I presume. Like, if it doesn't work for the daily islands, like, this is basically useless, because I presume this will not work for Grand Voyage or Pirate King Adventures, or like, God forbid, co-op or something like that. Like, that also makes sense to me. Like, obviously, if it works for mainly Pirate King Adventures, it will be a God tier. Everybody has to get Emu level of captain, because that basically kills the mode. You don't have to team build. It's just use Emu 6 times a day, and eventually you'll have all rewards. You don't have to do anything. So basically, for the health of the game, I hope that doesn't happen, because in the end, whatever you think about Pirate King Adventures, it's at least one of the few regular team building contents we get that isn't like super duper focused on only having boosters and stuff. Like, boosters helps, but you don't have to use them. Crewmate just resist everything as well. But yeah, let's go up to the special. So, and if you are a captain, when you use the special, also reduce enemies' beneficial effects by 1 turn, which is a super good bonus, because this removes 1 turn of everything on the enemy. And there are some enemy stuff, mainly the damage limiter, that nothing else can remove. but this can remove it. This is another option to remove it. And if the enemy has like 2 of those, this emo is pretty easy to build around and fit on a team, I'd say. Then you have 1 unit to do that, you can fit another one, and suddenly you open a whole can of worms in team building. And that's something I like, at least, like getting rid of stuff you're not supposed to get rid of and making a team around that. And I feel emo will be good in that sense. At least that should be pretty good long term, I think. He also applies Territory Crew to the field for 3 turns. And if we don't know a lot about this, because the name applies, this is a territory for everybody. But we already have territory for every color and class. And we know they stack. So the question here, and I have 3 alternatives, like either it doesn't stack, and it's the only territory you can have, and if you already have other territories, you can't apply a Territory Crew. Worst case scenario makes it pretty bad, except for enabling the 12th Anni batch, basically. Then we have that you can't stack them, but it has the same effect. So if you have Territory Crew, you have Territory Cerebral or Territory Driven, Territory Free Spirit, like for free. You just need Territory Crew and you get everything, which will be pretty good, pretty boring, but good. And then it's the best case scenario is that it stacks on top of everything else. You can have Territory Crew, Territory Cerebral, Territory Int, like just stack everything. And that will just mean this is one more way to stack some extra damage. So that will be the best case scenario, I'd say. One cool thing with Emu, and this works with his EX, we should probably look at his EX first before we talk about this, because his EX is really good. Like, the thing I like the most about Emu, I'll say it already, is the fact that he's incredibly versatile. And I struggle to find like any content where you can't get some good use of him, because he can do so much different utility, like not everything at once, but since he has 2 different specials basically plus the EX, it's very easy to find some value out of him. But yeah, the EX, and either you have 2 of the 5 elders or the other Marjoa people, or you can get a high attack boost or boost, which is just there, to be honest, in case you want to use Emo with the Anni batch, where you can easily get that 8 times attack or boost. But yeah, the EX effect, everything becomes super type. Pretty good. It's like the 6+ Luffy, the OG Gear 5 one. He also does that. You also remove 5 turns of damage reduction and damage threshold. Incredible utility. 80% damage reduction, also really good. You can buff the color affinity boost by 1.5 times. That's going to be super relevant and nice as well. Main negative with that is that sometimes you might want to use the EX first and then Emu special and then the other specials, and then you waste that. But what can you do? Like, it's good that it's there. It's a good option. And then you change Emu special launch status to 1. This means you start at 0. You can get to 1 whenever you want. You can get it instead of 0. You can get the 1 special first. Then it gets back to 0. Or you start with the 0, use Emu special. You can use the Anni batch to get the Emu back. It sounds crazy, but you can do that. And before you use Emu a second time, you already used the EX. You can use Emu's 0 special and 1 special. So that's pretty neat. But yeah, the special, let's get back to it. So yeah, let's talk about the launch status 0 special. 2 turns CD reduction, reduce special bind by 10 turns. You get a 3-turn chain boundary. I still call them chain boundary. I know they have other names now, but the chain lock that you can still increase your chain. But yeah, it can go up to 5 times for 3 turns, which is really good. I also like that they've increased the maximum value, because like, it's funny that they do that, because you're not getting there without chain captains, but they're not releasing chain captains. I should make a video complain about that again. It's been a while, but yeah, it's frustrating when we get a legend every week and they still can't do a chain captain. But let's not go off topic. But yeah, that's the zero special, which is really good because it counters one of the most common but hard to deal with debuffs in the game. It's when you both get special bind and special reverse, because you can't use a special bind reducer because first you need to reduce your own CD, and you can't use a, a special reverser or seed reducer basically because you're special binded. So you have to have a unit that does both, which is, there's not that many still, but Emo does it. And as we said, as a captain, there is both special reaver, special binds. You can run Emo's captain and you handle this debuff, which is huge. But if you don't need that, or if you get paralysis or burn, you can use his one special instead, remove those annoying debuffs for the crew, and then you can get a stackable attack boost and then add an attack boost on top of that. The unfortunate thing with this attack boost Emo does, which it doesn't ruin him, but this is mainly useful for Emo himself and if you run a 5-alert team. But yeah, basically 70 cost characters will get another high attack on top of your current attack. So if you run Emo with the Anni batch, which you probably will for a month, if you get all 5 of them basically. But yeah, basically then only Emo himself will benefit from this extra attack boost. So yeah, if you have to Emo last, he will of course do tons of damage. And yeah, then special lance goes back to 0, so you can mix and match however you want here with that. Final tap, probably one of the worst parts of Emo. And yeah, you need a Strength Orb, Super Bomb, or Rainbow Orb, which is highly specific. And I don't think I've said this, and I haven't honestly not reflected over it, but is there even a way? Yeah, it is super if you have block orbs, you can get a matching orb, but Emo himself can only get that Strength Orb if you have a block orb and you change it. So you have to rely on the other units, but if we're talking about Anni batch and 5 elders, they're not really huge on orb control either, at least not to own slots. So that might be something to keep in mind, that getting that final tap online might be hard. And also the other Anni batch has their super slots. And honestly, I didn't say this beforehand, it's something I've been thinking, because we have, I thought we get 4 Super Sugos. We know they're doing super type slots. So that's when I thought like maybe they'll do a 5th unit with the final super slot. And they did that 5th unit, but they didn't give it the super slot, which makes no sense to me. But yeah, whatever. Maybe they thought it would be too strong for the Emo. But yeah, the final tap in itself is kind of mid. This looks like a final tap for a regular legend released 2 years ago. I don't think that is hyperbole. Like, it's pretty comparable with like the OG Law super type, the Dex one, with his adding damage to death down and not much else. Like, this is basically that, and you get some extra chain. Like other chain final taps like this gives like 2.25 times extra chain, and they're still hella mid. So yeah, you can get some use of the death down, at least if you run with Anni batch. Emo himself can't give you the death down though. Support is also pretty whatever, like if you max him it will be good for some units, not a lot. But yeah, let's talk a bit about Emo together with 5 elders, and I think he's, like in PvP it's obviously he's going to be on every 5 elder team, but in PvE I'd say it's pretty much the same, because I've tried, emphasis on try, like really tried using 5 elders, like in normal content, in super boss content. I just hate using them, and the main 2 reasons are: first, they have such limited ability to handle debuffs. There's a good word for that that I just lost. They have so little, like basically nothing in their captain, or very limited. Their special removes maybe one thing, and basically the way you want to use the 5 elders is that you use everything final stage. But Superboss likes to do debuffs stage 2. And if you use a 5-Eller stage 2, it basically ruins the damage final stage. But here comes Emu, because he can handle basically every common debuff. He himself can resist Bind the Spear, so he can handle the Spear stage 2 depending on the friend captain. You can run a friend captain that also can resist the Spear or has a swap that removes it, or you can run double Emu. Not totally out of the question on a 5-Eller team, since with 5 Ellers you can only use each Emu once for sure. So a hybrid Emu may not be the worst in some cases there. But yeah, both that and the fact that all of Emu's buffs are 3 turns, so the special with Emu you use on a stage 2 of a super boss is not wasted. You keep it until the final stage. And it's pretty relevant, especially for the 5-Ellers, because either you use Emu to handle like the special reverse, special bind, you keep a chain boundary for final stage, or you use Emu to handle mainly paralysis. Like if you use him for burn, well, that's one hell of a burn, if I may say so myself. That's usually not the debuff you have to handle, at least not for a stage 2 of Super Boss. But yeah, basically then you can get an attack boost for Emu and the other 5-Ellers and keep that for final stage. You can't stack the attack buffs, but 5 times attack is not that bad, and there will be an Eller that increases it by 1.5 times, and suddenly it's over like 7.5 times attack, and that's not bad. Yeah. So there are definitely uses for that. But yeah, utility is the word. I lost that word. Utility. Great utility. And yeah, he does help a lot with the 5-Eller archetype. And he also has the EX, where he increases the call affinity by 1.5 times. And there's like 2 Ellers that give call affinity. There's another Eller that also there's like 2 Ellers who automatically increases the power of call affinity. And if you run a 5-Eller team, you will still run all colors. So something will hit really hard, so that call affinity does not go to waste. So that's also pretty good. And of course the EX helps whenever you use it with utility like damage reduction, threshold. It's great. So yeah, I can see him definitely being used there. And when I was thinking a long time, because I've been reading like the kits a few times, wrapping my head around them. And the most random thing with the kits I've seen is that all of the other Anni batches, or the 12th Anni batch, Super Sugo, all have the effect of reduce captain charge time by 5 turns. And I'm like, what's the purpose of this? Like, I still think they might release another unit that can give big C reduction to the captain, kind of like Kuma did, but he's a little bit limited in terms of classes. So I was thinking maybe we get something like that. But then it hit me that. And it sounds so dumb. Like, I made a post on YouTube the other day about not limiting your perspective of things, like not thinking about what's important. And in the grand scheme of things, when we're talking about like the Anni batches, everything does 8 times attack boost, 8 times ore boost, 8 times color affinity. The conditional is 6 times, but that's still amazing for a conditional boost. And if you have those buffs, does it matter if you, like Emu, only have a 4 times attack boost for the Anni batch? I seriously doubt that it's not going to matter. 4 times is very fine, even if it's like what we had 5 years ago, even longer ago. But hilariously, I think we'll see for the super bosses that at least one of them will use all of the new Super Sugos on one team, and it might be like, how does it even work? Here's how it works. Let's imagine you get to stage 2. Remember that Emu has 22 CD. So you use Emu special stage 2, and you keep the chain boundary going to the final stage. You already have some value there. And then on final stage, you start using the new Luffy. And the new Luffy gives you 8 times ore boost to everything because of Emu's captain ability, because when you use the special, you apply territory crew as well as getting the chain boundary. And if you have territory crew, all specials that are applied with type boost, class boost, which all of them do, like Luffy says, Dex fighters get 8 times ore boost. That becomes everybody gets an 8 times ore boost. And then you use, I think Buggy has the 8 times call affinity. Everybody gets the 8 times call affinity. You use the new Backbird, everybody gets 8 times attack boost. And so on. And those units don't only have that, like some gives like set targets, some gives damage reduction attack boost, which Emu gives the 8% damage reduction with his EX. So you get my point, like you're going to be able to stack a lot, and every time Luffy uses a special, -5 CD to Emu. Buggy uses a special, -5 CD to Emu, etc. So there's 4 of them. 5 times 4 is 20. In transition stages, you use 2 CD. So Emu will be able to use a special again, and the second special will give at least Emu himself an attack boost and handle some more utility. So yeah, that's pretty amazing. It sounds like it's super broken. I do want to note though that there are a lot of ways to stack damage, like in a recent Super Boss I went hard on, where it was like the Vegapunk, Strength Cerebral stuff were really good. You could stack like 2 attack boosts, 2 ore boosts, 2 call affinities, and you end up stacking a lot. But even if it's not the most buffs you're able to stack, it's still incredibly high value buffs. Like it's kind of what the 5 Elder teams want to do, but really can, where you have like 10 times attack boost, 10 times ore boost. You end up with one that gets to 10 times, and the other is maybe 5 times, and there's 3 times, 2 times, and it doesn't end up being very impressive. But here everything is 8, 8, 8, 6, like there's a lot. And then you have Emu's 4 times captain ability. It ends up being, who cares, like we make up for that easily. And the cool thing with this is that I've only mentioned 5 units, and maybe you played this game before, you usually have 6 units on a team. That means you have a flex spot. So you can have something like a friend captain that can reduce CD, and so you can use Emu special final stage. And the friend captain maybe can reduce CD for Emu. You don't need to use him stage 2. The friend captain could apply increased damage taken, because I honestly don't think anything here does that. Which, maybe I overlooked it, but I don't think anything does that, and Shank's conditional is only for increased damage taken. So it feels kind of like an oversight, but also the translation here is pretty weird, so maybe it does. I remember there being some weird buff that was like 3 times applied, and I didn't understand it. That was probably increased damage taken. That makes sense. So it probably covered. But it could also help with orb manip, because as we said, it's pretty hard to set up a matching orb with this current team. And it could also add like Emo helps with versus switches. It could be some duo units, like who knows? Like there's some options. I doubt double Emo will be pretty good on a team like this though. And any of the Super Sugos as friend captain will suck, because they have awful captain abilities in terms of boosting other units. So it's just one type, one class. So it feels very ancient-ish in terms of captain ability. But yeah, I think I've exhausted everything I can talk about Emu in terms of his PvE. Like it might have sounded like I'm very hyped here, but I end up saying that I'm still not that excited. Like it might sound crazy, because it feels like I've been hyping this unit for 30 minutes, but I honestly don't care much about it. Like, it's cool that he has quite a bit of utility, but in the end, only he himself resists Bind the Spear, so you need to deal with that with the friend captain in terms of the spear and Bind in terms of everybody else. It's not like some units who resist Bind for themselves and then their special removes Bind. Nope, Emo doesn't do that. Which is a shame, like he removes Burn. If that was Bind instead, Emo will be considerably better, in my opinion. Another thing is I've talked about the Anni badge, but that has a glaring weakness in terms of CD, because all of these badges, like, I haven't checked the other Anni units, what CD they have. But I'm just presuming it's ridiculously high, like they always are nowadays for Super Sugos and stuff like that. So basically, like if you're thinking about Super Boss, like usually they have some color, like maybe 3 colors or classes that get C reduction, but like Emu, Powerhouse Driven, Luffy Fighter Powerhouse, Blackbeard Free Spirit Driven, Shanks Cerebral Slasher, Buggy Slasher Driven, like no matter what, you're not going to cover all of that. It's fine for the debut month because everything is boosted, have fun. But then when there's not boosted, it's like, how do I run this? Like you need to find a speedrun captain, but I doubt there's any super good speedrun captain like that. Like there are a few who give a lot, but do even they give enough, and do they give it to the whole crew? I'm a bit doubtful. So yeah, that's something to consider as well. But yeah, as for the PvP, I will say that the thing I'm mostly confused by is the fact that they have ability bind. Is that new? Let me know. I'm not up to date with all of the PvP stuff, but the way I read ability bind myself is that you bind the opponent's rumble ability, which sounds absolutely broken. Like that's the most important part in PvP, the abilities. Like that's where you have that awful Dex team that looks so bad, but you enter the game and you have like -5 defense and you die from anything. Like imagine disabling abilities, like 2 abilities that each give 6 death up, suddenly that's -12 death, like out of the way, maybe their HP is out of the way, like insane. And then his ability in itself looks so awful. He does damage, fuck you. He takes damage, fuck you. He heals, fuck you. The clock ticks, like fuck you, like you're screwed no matter what. So yeah, he looks incredibly unfun, I'd say. And of course they also make it so the 5-LR team can't be forced out anymore by Luffy. So yeah, power crept already, basically. So it's kind of funny, but I never thought the 5-LR team was that fun to use in PvP or that great. I might be wrong on that, but then Luffy came and nobody wanted to use it. And now he's back with Emu, basically. And he looks such a pest to deal with. At least he looks pretty bad in GP from my very quick look at it. Like 80 seconds has to pass to use his burst, and the burst... Okay, it does ability bind everything, and that looks like an auto-win. If you use it on like after like 20 seconds of the game, you use that. Everything has no defense, and you apply a death down to them, and they die from a fart, basically. Like, yeah, that sounds awful. But yeah, we'll see how good it is. Anyway, let's not talk more boring stuff like PvP. I'll just end the video instead. So yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.